Done with that. Now, oops. Okay, now what we want to do is, again, scrape, and I'm just getting it onto a big ball. Okay, here we go. Now I'm just going to drop it onto the table, onto the pan. Now it dropped right out because I did such a good job of making sure that it was scraped and incorporated properly. Okay, so there we go. There's our dough. Okay, so now we have our ball, and we're going to just take some saran wrap here, set it right on top. We're going to push it down, and then we're going to put this in the cooler for a few minutes. Okay, so now it's been a few minutes. We'll get our dough out. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to demonstrate what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate how to portion the cookies and how to roll the balls, okay? How to form the cookies, basically. So, this is a bench scraper, okay? It's basically, you know, it's called a bench scraper, and it's made for cutting dough. It's made for scraping the table. It's made for doing any type of work with dough and flour and yeast. So, it's good for chopping pieces. So, basically, if you don't have one of these, you can always just use a butter knife or a spatula. So, but these things are very handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece out. I cut myself a little strip. Okay, now, if the dough is real sticky, you can cheat and use just a little bit of flour. Okay, if your dough is really nice and chilled, you probably don't need to worry about that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just gently roll it. Okay, see how I just very light to the touch, because the dough is fairly soft. I didn't chill it too long. Okay, the more you chill it, the firmer it gets, the harder it is to work with. So you want to keep that in mind. Anyway, so now what we want to do is we'll use our bench scraper, and we're going to cut off some pieces, just like this. And it's basically a feel as to how big or how small you want your pieces to be. This is how I find that when I do cookies about this size, I end up getting about 2 dozen and a pound of cookies or so. But that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to take the pieces, roll it in my hands like so. I'm basically just using the palms of my hands. And I'm not doing pressure or anything like that. I'm just gently rolling the dough, just like so. Okay. And you don't necessarily need them to be all perfect either. Okay, because they are just going to melt and settle in the oven. But you don't want them to be big blobs either, so. Okay.
And how much distance would you say between each cookie?
Well, basically what I'm doing now is I'm just rolling the cookies, and we're going to want to chill them again. Okay. It'll only take a few minutes to chill them again. They're not actually, this is not the pan that I'm going to bake them on. So this is just one of the steps along the way. Okay. All right, so this is enough to get the idea. Okay, so again, we're going to put these in the cooler to chill them and firm them up. Now, we'll take this. Actually, let me grab another paper here. Sorry about that. There you go. All right. Okay, so put this here. There. Okay. All right. So. Okay, so I think that the cookies have chilled enough. I'll be very gentle with them. So, without further ado, now, very, very important, probably the most important detail of this whole project. Spray your paper right now. Okay? You gotta spray this paper right now. Spray the parchment paper. I know it's parchment paper, but you gotta spray it. Okay, now the reason being is because we're gonna dip these into the egg white. Okay? So what we want to do is make sure that the whole thing is covered, and we're just gonna pull it right out, set it in the corner. Okay, make sure the whole thing is completely rounded and covered. I'm doing the corners first, okay, because my oven is a convection oven. It has a fan, and if you don't do the corners first, if you don't weigh down your corners, then what'll happen is the paper will flap over, and it will flap over the cookies, and then you basically have two bottom sides of the cookies. So you don't want that. You want to have a top and a bottom, okay? So just a little detail there. And basically I'm just going around the pan. Okay. You don't really have to give these too much space in between, because they're not going to spread like a normal chocolate chip or a oatmeal cookie would. So they're basically gonna settle instead of spread. So you basically only need to give them about an inch and a half in between cookies. Oh, look at that. We got a perfect 12. Nice. Okay. And last one. Okay. So these are ready for the oven.